it's a real family film, so something for everyone. And Pudsey gets into a lot of trouble. It's very British as well, because it starts in the city and moves out to the countryside. He finds his family, kind of falls in love with them, and saves the day at the end. So a proper dog heartwarming film.
I mean, the nation's fallen in love with this dog, but can you just talk about your relationship, because it's such an extraordinary bond you have?
Yeah, like I was just saying, it's probably sick of me at the moment because we see each other 24/7, but he loves what he's doing, I love what I do as well, so who better to work with than your best friend, really?
How perfect a choice for the voice of Pudsey is David.
Yeah, he's done a brilliant job, and who better to trust with the voice of my dog, a very, very important job, and he's done an amazing, and he's kind of brought Pudsey's character to real life as well. Very, very cheeky, very happy, quite laid back as well, which is exactly him.
What are we going to see from the film and Pudsey that we haven't perhaps seen before in all of his wonderful shows and performances?
Yeah, well, you're going to see Pudsey not working with me, first of all, because obviously everyone's always seen us together. The most difficult thing was getting Pudsey to go off with the family, do everything with them, so all the tricks. So I had to kind of teach them to work with Pudsey and Pudsey to work with them. And everyone got on really, really well. Pudsey was brilliant, did everything that I wanted him to do. His favourite part was doing the stunts and the bounding off people, so he loved doing that.
Of course, he's already Britain's most famous and beloved dog. He's got his own movie now. What's next for you guys?
Maybe a Pudsey 2, maybe one day. Let's get this film out of the way first of all. Who Let the Dogs Out? We're back filming that after all the film promotion, which will be good fun again. And then Panto in Bristol this Christmas, so again, good fun.
We're really excited to see the show back. What are you hoping for in the next season?
Well, it's very different from the last season. It's kind of best in shows, so you are seeing some kids that you've seen in the past before, and it's going to be very different from what we did before, so it's going to be good fun.
In terms of young people who'd love to have the kind of relationship that you guys have and love to be able to do the kind of things you do, what advice do you give for people just starting out training their animal?
Training. I definitely think that's why I've got such a strong bond with all of my dogs, but obviously most of all with Pudsey, because we spend so much time together, we put so much time and effort into everything that we do, and when you're training, I just think it brings you and your dog together more. And so yeah, if you want to bond like us, train your dog.
What's the most spectacular trick you think Pudsey's got in his arsenal at the moment?
Well, I think when everybody thinks of Pudsey, they think of him walking on his back legs, so I think that is his number one. I've had a couple of people ask if he can do a backflip. I don't see that one happening in the future anytime soon, but you never know.
You got a message for fans before you leave us?
Go see the film. I hope you love it as much as we do. We put so much time and effort into it, and if you love it, make sure you tell everyone about it.
What are fans, big and little, of Pudsey going to see from this film they haven't seen from him before, and what made you want to be involved in it?
Well, this is an adventure story. It's not the story of Pudsey on Britain's Got Talent. It's about him. He meets this family who are moving to the country, and there's this evil landlord trying to force them off their property, and it's all about Pudsey making everything right. So it's more in the realms of a film like Babe, something like that, than a story of him on the talent show. And it was really nice to be asked. Ashleigh asked me herself if I'd like to do the voice. I thought, why not? It's fun and it's quite easy doing. I mean, when you're doing the voice in a animated film or a film like this, you don't have to be on set every day or anything like that. You just go into this booth. It's all been filmed and you do it. So it's quite a fun process. And I'm just proud to be, to see the continued success of Ashleigh and Pudsey, and to see, from that moment we first saw them audition on Britain's Got Talent to their own film premiere. It's quite something.
I think on the subject of the show, obviously there's a lot of debate about whether or not these kinds of talent shows create lasting stars or kind of flash-in-the-pan success stories. Do you think that Ashleigh and Pudsey are a wonderful example of the very positive things the show is capable of doing? Yes,
I mean, I think what happens after a talent show is, there's lots of different stories, aren't there? There's some people go on to do brilliantly well, other people don't. But enough people have done well particularly out of Britain's Got Talent. You think Paul Potts has had a movie about his life, Susan Boyle's become an international sensation, and now Ashleigh and Pudsey have got their own movie. So it's, you know, it's not to say it's going to happen to every single person, but it's happened enough times that you can pretty sure that's going to happen again.
You're working on another children's book at the moment. Can you tell us anything about that and why you particularly enjoy writing for a younger audience?
Well, I've just always loved books for kids. I've always loved kids' films, and when you get older, it's a nice guilty pleasure, isn't it? You know, watching one of your favourite movies as a kid, be E.T. or reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory again, whatever. And so, it's just something I really enjoy doing, and now there's an audience for my kids' books and kids, you know, anticipating the next one, which is a lovely place to be.
You mentioned there's some classic films, some classic books. When you were young, was there a particular story that really captured your imagination and made you feel that sense of magic and wonder?
Well, the first book I read for pleasure was probably Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I think that's very important because some kids like to find a book that you really love, because some kids never read and they never start, and they're just glued to the TV or the computer game. So I think it's really important to find to get kids interested in reading, because books give you something that nothing else can do.
Pudsey is Britain's most beloved and famous canine. What was it like working with him though?
Well, he's just so good at what he does. You know, he is a consummate professional, and it was great. It was a really easy, fun job. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
How much of a nice fit do you think David is for the voice of Pudsey?
I mean, he's a brave choice, but I'm sure he's going to pull it off. I mean, you know, and bring something interesting to the role. But I mean, it's great. I mean, he's so funny that I think that's going to be, you know, that's going to be the fun thing. I haven't heard his voiceover, so I'm really looking forward to it. And I think that he's going to bring a sort of, probably a sort of kind of wry, sort of more maybe kind of like sharper edge to Pudsey than someone else might have. So I'm kind of looking forward to see what he does with him. Yeah, I'm the mum. So Pudsey kind of basically joins our family, and I kind of, you know, just, you know, I at first I'm not sure, and then he kind of like, he basically becomes indispensable, and we look after him. But it's really about Pudsey's relationship with the children, really, and how he just sort of makes us feel better. Because at the beginning of the film we lose the dad, I lose my husband, and so that's it. But it's quite a straightforward relationship. It's not too complex, but it's fun.
Molly she's kind of a typical teenager, other than the fact that her dad's just died. So obviously she's going through a kind of a stage of grief, and that's massively reflected in her clothes, because she makes all her own clothes, and she's a bit quirky and she gets a bit bullied for it. But if you look closely in the clothes, you can see it's almost like her diary, and she kind of writes out all her thoughts and feelings on her clothes. And I think she was really interesting, because you had to get the balance between her being like grief-stricken because her dad's just died, but still having attitude, but also she's still kind of an introvert because she was bullied. And I think her kind of character arc is about how she gains confidence and realises that she's fine to be who she is. And I think Pudsey helps give her confidence, and moving to the different village definitely gives her confidence, and meeting Will gives her confidence. But yeah, I think it's kind of the stereotypical story of a like teenager kind of finding herself.
Yeah, being the bad guy, it's always good to be the bad guy, and I'm a bad guy. I'm a rather ludicrous bad guy. Like most bad guys, going right back to Captain Hook, I'm sort of precious and a bit camp, actually. He goes a bit gay sometimes. But he's misunderstood as Mr. Thorne. He's a poor, sad, twisted, neurotically damaged human being, and deserves all the sympathy he can get. Children are a breeze, no problem at all, and Pudsey was fine. There was one day Pudsey had to jump up at me. It took a while for Ashleigh, who trains him. You know, she's amazing. She has trained him. You know, she really gets through the biscuits though. She must get through about 1,000 biscuits a day. You know, but he hasn't put on too much weight considering. You know, he's pretty busy. He has a full life, but we just hope it doesn't go to his head.
Are there any diva moments from Pudsey on the film?
couple of times, you find gin bottles in his pocket and smoking cigarettes when he shouldn't be, and I had to tell him off a little bit, But he has this terrible agent, who's a very frightening agent, who lets him do what he wants, I think I've seen him sniffing. No, I haven't seen him sniffing. I think he could. I'm worried about Pudsey's well-being. Actually, he could go off the straight and narrow.